Hello guys, welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Happy Sunday, day after a pre-season fixture. A 2-0 victory over Rangers and less than 7 days to go until Manchester United's pre-season tour of the United States begins. But I thought I'd drop in with a bit of a short, sharp, sweet transfer update because still we're seeing these transfer stories and really actually today a bit of an insight as to the power that Erik ten Hag does or rather doesn't have when it pertains to transfers now, and just really how it's going to be so collaborative working with the new football leadership structure at Manchester United and how Ten Hag fits into that. So a couple of things I do want to chat to you guys about today. So be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. A reminder, there was so much that happened yesterday when it came to that pre-season fixture in Edinburgh, that game against Rangers. We had interviews with the likes of Andre Onana after the game, goal scorer Joe Hugill, there's Flex and KG's reaction, there's also a lot of shorts going up as well with Flex and KG chatting to the players before the match, bit of pre-match encouragement as well as everything happening on social media. So be sure to check all of that out, be sure to follow us at United View TV on all of the socials, keep up to date with what's coming, and especially when it comes to the week ahead. As I mentioned, the pre-season tour kicks off officially on Saturday with the game against Arsenal at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. I think Flex KG flying out on Wednesday, same time as the Manchester United players flying out on Wednesday. So you know how it goes when it comes to the pre-season tour and pre-season coverage. We've got it all covered, so be sure to get involved. Now, I do want to talk about, as I mentioned, Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag has spoken about just how things are changing when it comes to the recruitment, scouting, things of that nature, and how he has actually less power and less influence than maybe he had previously. But he's actually looking quite happy that is indeed the case. Now, this comes once again from this wide-ranging interview that he's done with the Dutch outlet AD there in the Netherlands. Now, when talking about transfers, when talking about recruitment, which has been something that's been a heavy talking point when it comes to Erik ten Hag's tenure, a lot made of the veto powers and players being brought in that are either Dutch or he's worked with in the past or have played in the Eredivisie. Well, when talking to AD, Ten Hag said the following, saying, quote, "A lot has been taken away from me in scouting and recruitment. That is necessary. You need a very strong structure in scouting/transfer policy. The club has acquired incredible know-how and knowledge of the market that helps me. Very good signs." Now, actually, after the game yesterday, he was asked once again about how happy he is that we're just going into the preseason tour of the United States now, and he's already got 2 signings through the door when it comes to obviously Joshua Zirkzee and also from Lenny Yoro, who made his United debut yesterday, and he was praising the leadership. He said that he thinks they've done a really good job and he's really happy about that. Of course, there's room for more. He didn't say that necessarily, but he cut a very happy figure, and it's funny because when these quotes came out, I think they came out yesterday, and obviously they were echoed by Fabrizio Romano today, so they got a lot of coverage. But I think he cuts a very happy figure. Now, obviously, look, it's pre-season. You're not into sort of the real nitty-gritty of the season ahead, and with bad results or bad moments, that might come a bit of a change in demeanour. But I think he does strike a tone, or certainly strikes or looks to me like a figure that is very happy with how things are going, and things are going how he wants them to go when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to scouting. And now obviously he still retains some of the transfer powers that he had previously because there hasn't been a huge change when it comes to his contract. Well, rather, there's been no change when it comes to his contract, of course, because they just triggered the option to extend it for a further year. So he's not, the Manchester United head coach, and he's not got absolutely zero influence over transfers, which I wouldn't want anyway, by the way. I think we have to realise that Manchester United's recruitment structure for the last decade plus has been so lopsided and so completely out of control. And we go so far one way, and then to try and pull it back, we go so far the other, where it comes to manager has complete and total influence over it. Then it comes to a CEO in Ed Woodward, he has total control over it, etc., etc. Like, it's just been completely out of control. What we're seeing right now, and what we've seen already in the last few weeks, is what a functioning big club looks like when it comes to the transfer market, where you've got multiple people, some of the best at what they do when it comes to Omar Barada, when it comes to Dan Ashworth, when it comes to Christopher Vavell, when it comes to Jason Wilcox. those guys being involved, and also including the manager in the process, because he's the one that's working with the players on a daily basis. He's the one that's working with them on the training pitch, and he's the one that picks the team ultimately. So he can't have people that he's not happy with, or he can't have people that he doesn't rate, or he doesn't want to work with, or he doesn't think are all that good. I mean, all of these departments to fully function properly, and all these people to fully function properly, it all has to be hand in hand. Everyone has to be on the same page. And certainly, I think with the interviews that he has done so far, when he has been talking about the leadership, when he has been talking about, how there were differences after the FA Cup final, he called it a sort of a confronting conversation that they had. I think they've come out of it, and certainly it feels like, time will tell if proof is in the pudding, of course, but it feels like we're heading in the right direction as to how we should operate in the transfer market. I can only, imagine his frustration over the last couple of years in the market. It's not as if, he hasn't been backed in terms of financially, because of course he has. Manchester United have spent. They've overspent during his tenure at United, but I'm sure that he also would probably think that we've overspent, and actually if we'd have been a bit smarter and a bit better, if we'd have been able to move certain players on, and if we hadn't overspent on certain players, I'd have been able to get more players in, or I'd be closer to getting the team together that I want to get together. And if you have total and utmost faith in the people that are involved in these transfers, involved in recruitment, at their ability to do their job and get big transfers and deals over the line, then you'll be more than happy to work with them. We've already seen evidence thus far that these new people that are in the new football leadership structure at Manchester United are very effective at doing their job. Whether it's Omar Barada having an obsession with signing Lenny Yoro and getting that deal done and beating Real Madrid to that transfer and doing it. Whether it's Dan Ashworth being involved in that too. Whether it's Jason Wilcox in the early stages, going out to meet Lenny Yoro, going out to meet his family, sell the project. Whether it's Christopher Vavel now, interim director of recruitment, looking around and looking at other recruitment opportunities, not just for this window, but critically for the winter window, which United just haven't participated in recent years. We didn't at all last year. Then, of course, in Ten Hag's first season, we did a couple of loan spells completely out of necessity because Ronaldo had left and also Christian Eriksen was injured. So I think he would probably hope that he would be able to he'll be able to participate in the winter window too. So I think certainly it's this power change as it's being described as a good thing, and I think that's exactly what Erik ten Hag is saying too. So very encouraging stuff there. What do you guys make of Erik ten Hag's comments there? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How do you think he's come across in some of the interviews that he's done thus far? Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comment section below. Now, we're also going to talk about Antony, because Erik ten Hag has been speaking about his most expensive signing ever, Antony from Ajax, of course, in his first season. Now, Ten Hag was bullish about the future of the Brazilian international, saying, quote, "I'm still convinced that Antony has the potential to play for this club. He certainly showed that potential in the first month. He scored 3 times in his first 3 games. After that, it became more difficult. Last season was not good." Now, this is the funny thing with Erik ten Hag, isn't it? Because as we would know at this point, I mean, he's been around this is going to be his 3rd season. And he can weave in and out of how truthful he is being. I think that towards the end of last season, I really actually enjoyed his how bluntly honest he was on certain topics, particularly when it came to the media and certainly when he was defending himself. I thought that was the right tone to take and the good tone to take. When it comes to players, we know at this point, if you are a Manchester United player, if you are under contract, and Erik ten Hag is asked about his players in the media, he will back them until the moment they are no longer here. That is just what he does. He's done it with every player. Whether it's Ronaldo, well, even when Ronaldo was here, actually, to be fair, for a lot of the time, it was very complimentary about him. Whether it was Marcus Rashford, now with Jadon Sancho, he insists it's done, it's finished, it's over. And to be fair, even as that was going on, the line just always, he knows the conditions, that's it. So it should be no surprise when it comes to Antony that it would be the same. Now, this week it had been reported by Mark Ogden from ESPN that United were open to Antony leaving on loan this summer. And I think the reason it says on loan is because it's going to be really difficult to move Antony on. He's on a huge wage, around £200,000 a week, and he's still got time left on his contract. So the player has the power there. If they go out on loan, look at Jadon Sancho. Anything's possible. He could come back. So I think a loan exit for him would be the most possible. But I think his situation's really interesting now because I mentioned Jadon Sancho. We saw yesterday both he and Amad played. Amad, man of the match that day. He was brilliant, scored his goal. Jadon Sancho looked sharp too. And now suddenly the options on the right-hand side seem pretty plentiful, don't they? You know, you've got Amad. You've got Sancho. Yes, he played on the left, but he could play on the right too. You've obviously got Alejandro Garnacho, who was Ten Hag's preferred choice for the right-hand side for the majority of last season, at least during the latter stages, absolutely. So now what happens when it comes to Antony? Because it was something that KG and myself spoke about on one of the morning shows or an episode of the Trinity, which was if you're going to sort of rank the options on the right-hand side, Antony, I don't think is even in second place at this point. He's at maybe best third or fourth. And whilst Ten Hag is always going to back his player publicly, particularly players worked with in the past, we also had seen those reports toward the end of last season where Erik Ten Hag was really disappointed with how it had worked out with Antony at Manchester United. Of course, he was upset when he got moved to left back in that game against Liverpool, where it was quite chaotic and it was just, let's just throw things forward and then try and hold on and all that kind of stuff. And Antony, wasn't very happy with that. And according to the report, Ten Hag completely cussed him out in front of the entire dressing room. And as he kind of alludes to, the best part of Antony's Manchester United career was probably the first month or so. Since then, it's been a flash maybe or so in the first season. Then last season, absolutely next to nothing, apart from the goal, of course, he did score against Liverpool, which you had hoped would be somewhat of a turning point for him and didn't really end up being like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Antony this summer. Ultimately, I don't think anything does. I think he probably stays. He has all the power in this situation, and it would just have to be, I suppose, another option for Manchester United to utilise. But it would be interesting to see what happened if a loan offer did come in, if Manchester United would consider it. If he would consider it, I suppose, is also something to think about too. So what do you think happens with Antony? Let me know your prediction when it comes to the Manchester United winger. And finally, I did want to talk about this Jarrad Branthwaite stuff. There's a little bit more on Jarrad Branthwaite. The deal looks to be off. I mean, I'd be really surprised if this happened this summer now. So the Mirror are saying today that Everton will offer Manchester United defensive target Jarrad Branthwaite a vastly improved contract to compensate him for missing out on an Old Trafford pay bonanza. What a word that is. The Toffees refused to budge on their £70 million valuation of the one-cap England stopper after personal terms had been agreed, believed to be £160,000 a week. United wouldn't go above £40 million with add-ons, leaving the 22-year-old unable to complete a lucrative move. It continues by saying plans are in place for their outstanding defender to receive a new contract, complete with a huge pay rise to try and ward off any other interest. The Wigton-born defender insists he hasn't been fazed by the transfer talk and is happy to remain a Toffee. The reason I say this one is off for now is because I think Manchester United should walk away. If that's how Everton want to play, if they're saying, no, it's £70 million or nothing, then you go, all right, then nothing. All right, there are other defensive targets. Matthijs de Ligt is the other one. It seems to be an easier transfer to do. I know Manchester United have pushed back on the valuation that Bayern have put out there, but I think the gap is much easier to bridge than this one. And Everton, look, they had their takeover collapse this week. They say, and reports are suggesting, that will have no impact on the Jarrad Branthwaite one now. We'll see how the season plans out. We'll see what happens. And maybe come the end of the season, that might be totally different. But I think, once again, as they have done a couple of times here for Jarrad Branthwaite, I think Manchester United need to make a bit of a statement and just go, okay, well, if you're going to play us around and you're going to ask for so much, then we're just not interested in that. We like the player. We rate the player, obviously. We wouldn't have put 2 bids in otherwise. But if that's what you're going to do, then we're just not interested. And it'll be interesting to see what Jarrad Branthwaite does with that too. Does he accept a new contract? Does he say to Everton, I'm only going to accept a new contract under the agreement that you let me go next season? A bit similar to Palhinha, of course, at Fulham. Last season, it looked like he was going to go to Bayern Munich. Didn't happen. Then it was like Palhinha signed a new contract at Fulham, and everyone was like, wow, look at that. Fulham have pulled that off. But it seems pretty apparent, doesn't it, that it was with an idea of, okay, but next season we will let you go if something comes in. And it'll be interesting to see if that's the case, or if Branthwaite just says, no, all right, you messed me around, I'm not interested. I know they'll come back, or maybe Man United say informally to Branthwaite's representatives, we'll come back next season, or we'll come back in the future, but not now whilst Everton are playing these games. So for me, I think that one's pretty dead in the water unless something dramatically changes and Everton dramatically reduce their expectations. And I think United should be, well, we can't go 70 million quid, and we shouldn't go 70 million quid. It's just a ludicrous number, I think, that Everton are putting out there. So it looks like, for now, certainly that one is off. Not to say he won't become a United player in the future. I do think they'll come back in at some point, but no, I don't see much more movement on that one, to be honest with you. So there you go. That's the latest transfer news and updates. What's on tap for the remainder of the day? Well, there should be a vlog coming out from what happened behind the scenes when it came to Flex, KG, Josh Media, Graphics Guru, Visual Ninja, with their trip to Edinburgh yesterday for the pre-season fixture against Rangers. Tomorrow, we'll have the transfer view, hopefully an episode of the full view as well. And then, of course, anything that happens in between then, you never know. So far, Manchester United over the last sort of 10 days or so, anything can happen at a moment's notice, but not in the way of the past. You know, in the past, it was like anything can happen in terms of nothing happening, and you sort of go, we keep hearing little drips of stuff in the news, but we all know it's not really true. Anything can happen with Manchester United, and that stuff that can happen can be legitimate, which is very exciting and encouraging. And of course, if it does, I'll be here to bring it to you. So big up to everyone. Have a good Sunday. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very soon. I'm out of here. Peace.